Brothers and sisters of the Great Spirit, I'm proud to say our numbers are growing every day. The subject of today's lesson is reconnecting the soul to the brain, and it is covered in chapter 1 of our text, Revelations of the Great Spirit. You might ask, what do I hope to gain by reconnecting my soul to my brain? Once your soul is reconnected to your brain, your intelligence will increase, your ability to absorb knowledge will improve, you begin to see the world the way it really is, you begin to develop your latent powers of ESP and mind reading, and you are more able to plan your life in a way that benefits you, your family, your community, your country, and all the souls on earth. The first step in reconnecting your soul to your brain is to understand the origin of the soul. Picture in your mind a primitive tribe that lived before written history, say 5,000 years ago. Your tribe numbers maybe 100, to include men, women, and children. The souls of all the members of the tribe keep the members together so that it will function as one unit. Thus, the soul is absolutely necessary for the survival of this tribe. The soul is the unselfish part of you that thinks about the welfare of the group instead of yourself. One aspect of the soul is the need to warn the group of any danger it might encounter. Another aspect is for the strong young adults to protect and nourish the old and the children. And this sometimes includes risking or giving their lives in battle or braving danger to gather food. 5,000 years ago, there were many tribes, and they often warred with each other. The souls of a tribe had a range of the territory of the tribe, and did not connect with the souls of another tribe unless some kind of peace treaty was arranged. Even then, the tribes would be suspicious of each other. Whenever tribes were at war with each other, the loyalty of the souls of the tribes were to the respective tribes, and the tribe members worked to destroy the opposing tribe. This aspect of the soul can be observed today by observing sports fans, and the word fan is short for fanatic, rooting for their respective teams and against the opposing team. Thus, the popularity of sports is due in part to the primitive function of the soul, since in general man has not really evolved that much in the last 5,000 years. Technologically, yes, but physically, no. And the case can be made that in general people are physically weaker now than they were 5,000 years ago or even 100 years ago due to the ease and luxury we live in. It is absolutely necessary for the souls of tribal members to be connected to their brains so that the problems facing this tribe could be solved. Although man has advanced technologically from the days of primitive tribes, his soul is still there, but as the world is more complicated now, people are often really not aware of their souls as a functioning part of their being, and in many cases they do not know how to use their souls to their best advantage, to include connecting their souls to their brains. A cause of the disconnection of the soul to the brain is religion. Although I have not studied all the major religions of the world as listed in page 7 of our text, I am somewhat familiar with Christianity and the Bible. The Bible teaches many things that cannot literally be true, such as the earth being created in 6 days, Moses parting the Red Sea, Christ rising from the dead, and on and on. So when children are trained from a young age to believe these things and threatened with going to hell if they don't, and loved and nurtured by their parents if they do, the child's soul is being disconnected from his or her brain. since modern science, using logic and reason, proves that these things cannot be true. And when a person learns the logic of science and sees the obvious contradiction between science and religion, he will sometimes lose his soul almost completely because the contradiction is so illogical. And the logical person feels betrayed by his own parents and religious teachers. Such a person might block out the messages his soul is sending to his brain and do things just for spite that his soul normally would not allow him to do. The best example of a person's soul being disconnected from his brain is the case of Pope Urban VII, who imprisoned Galileo, the father of modern science, under house arrest in 1633 for saying that the earth revolves around the sun, because the Pope's soul was disconnected from his brain. And it was his job to enforce the church's goal of keeping the masses in ignorance and discouraging the advance of science. He should have tried looking through Galileo's telescope and drawing conclusions based on facts instead of allowing the spell of 1,600-year-old dead ghosts to dominate his thinking. So whenever religion teaches you events that allegedly took place that can't be true, and science teaches you that these events could not possibly have happened the way they are described by religion, this creates a conflict between your soul and your brain that causes them to disconnect from each other. In the case of Christianity, if you believe these ancient tales, your soul is under the spell of 2,000-year-old ghosts. That is what the word gospel means. It means the spell of ghosts. And other ghosts cast the spells of other religions, so that the souls of people of the world are continually at each other's throats, much to the advantage of a small number of the privileged few. The Great Spirit is always now and never stuck in the mud of past orthodoxies. Since technology is always changing and human knowledge is rapidly increasing with the advance of science. Once you learn that it's your brain's job to acquire as much knowledge as possible and use logic and reason as your guide, then your soul will guide you in using the knowledge for the benefit of your tribe, whether it be your family, your community, your country, or all of the members of the human race who make up the souls of the Great Spirit. And your soul will inspire you to obtain knowledge much faster instead of blocking your acquisition of knowledge, since you are now gaining the knowledge for the benefit of your tribe and not just for yourself. And as for your developing your latent powers of ESP and mind reading, first of all, when you have a superior knowledge of the facts, you can make predictions based on the facts that others do not have. And this is really not ESP or mind reading, but superior logic. Secondly, when your soul is connected and bonded to other souls, you can communicate through soul-to-soul communication. And this phenomenon is explained more fully in our textbook. And finally, when another person's soul is disconnected from his brain, his soul can be used as a conduit to your soul brain so that you can read his mind, particularly when he spends all his time thinking about his own self-interest, no matter who gets hurt by his actions. For today, with the invention of the internet, all the world is now one tribe. And if everybody works together and uses their soul power to tear down the walls of division erected by the people who now control things, such as religion, racism, and other forms of mind control, as described in our text, all wars can be ended and the world can be a peaceful and prosperous place. Let us take, for example, the feud between the Christians and the believers in Islam. This feud has been going on for over 1,000 years, to include an invasion of Spain by the Moors and their eventual expulsion by the Christians in 1492, the Crusades and their eventual expulsion by Saladin from Jerusalem in 1187. And today we have all kinds of terrorism and wars that are often attributed to this same feud. Part of the cause of this feud is that the Christians are under the spell of 2,000-year-old ghosts, while members of the Islamic faith are under the conflicting spell of different 1,400-year-old ghosts. And the people at the top divide and conquer them both by setting them against each other. And how many men have died because of this 1,000-year-old feud? And what has this fighting accomplished? The only thing that has been accomplished is that the feud is a lasting monument to souls being disconnected from brains. It is the spellcasters and the leaders who do all the planning of this feud, while it is the ordinary folks like us who go out and do all the fighting and dying and the financing of the feud, while the leaders are safely in the rear. It can be said that it is almost impossible, that it was in those days almost impossible for the ordinary soldiers of Christian armies and their counterparts in Islamic armies to communicate with each other so that their souls could bond with each other, since they were separated by distance, language, military discipline, nationalities, and their respective differing spells of ghosts known as religion. But today, we have the internet that connects all the people of the world, so these barriers can be broken down. So if the feuding parties would just break their ancient spells of ghosts on their souls and use their soul brains to see the advantage of their souls uniting with each other, this feud, and many feuds like it around the world, will end, and the world will see peace, prosperity, and the brotherhood and sisterhood of all men and women. I remind all the brothers and sisters of the Great Spirit with the vision of the first prophet of the Great Spirit, Black Elk, who said, "The first peace, which is the most important, is that which comes within the souls of people who, when they realize their relationship, their oneness with the universe and all its powers, and when they realize that at the center of the universe dwells Wakantaka, the Great Spirit, and that this center is really everywhere. It is within each of us. This is the real peace, and others are but reflections of this. The second peace, that which is made between two individuals, and the third is that which is made between two nations. But above all, you should understand that there can never be peace between nations until there is known that true peace, which, as I have often said, is within the souls of men." Heed these words of Black Elk, O brothers and sisters of the Great Spirit, for the future of the world is in your hands. That concludes today's lesson. If anyone has any questions or comments about this broadcast, or would like a written transcript of it, or about our textbook, Revelations of the Great Spirit, email me at LAWSCAN2001, that's all one word, at yahoo.com, and be alert for additional lessons to follow on other subjects.